do they want out of life? You have what you need right now, but what is it that you want? It's missing.
I want to be able to keep that inner peace that I was talking about, and not allow anything or anyone to steal that, so that my judgments and my decisions are as sound as they can be, and that I can pass that on to my daughter, which I have been able to do. She's a little bit wiser beyond her years, I think, than I was. She took me to the debate yesterday with over Obama and McCain, and I thought, is this what you want to hear? And she did. And she sat and she listened the whole time, and she's real passionate about all this. So whatever it is that I'm passing on to her through, I think, some sort of osmosis, because I don't believe that I'm doing it all or that we're doing it all. I want to continue to be able to do that.
I guess I would want, well, to answer your question, I would want to get paid to write fiction.
Back to that.
I would want to consistently allow myself to do what I want to do without the constant voices of self-loathing.
It's fiction.
Which gets in the way a lot. And that happens with not just work, unfortunately. And then I would like a sleeping pill that would give me 7 hours and no hangover.
And do you really have insomnia?
Yes.
Because you talk about it all the time.
Not just here in this setting. Yes. I talk to myself about it on the way driving here. I'm like, God, I need to sleep at the panel.
It's also a subject of self-loathing.
Bill, what's your biggest
You know, being serious about it, I think it's for family members. Like many of you, I lost a parent already, and I've got one still around, and want to have as many years as possible with my dad. And then want for my daughter who's already with us and daughter to come, that they could have a rich set of possibilities and essentially do whatever they want to do to make them happy.
Jocelyn?
Those are very nice ones. So, those are nice. I guess much of the same, but I always want more time. More time for everybody.
Well, I mean, that raises a question, which I was going to get to, is that everybody in our generation is sort of looking at this work-life, family balance. You're a breast surgeon, you're a member of a nonprofit, you're a mom, you play in U.S. Tennis Association team.
Just,
I mean,
fun tennis.
yeah. So how do you find the time? I mean, your husband works. I mean, how do you find the time?
Yeah, so I don't do any of those things necessarily all great.
One or two, I hope.
But you look
So yeah, you juggle a lot. I mean, anyone who's raising a family, and especially if you have a full-time job that has a responsibility that people count on you for, it's a juggle. It's a struggle. It's actually a survival mission. Like, Monday through Friday is a little bit of a survival mission. Saturday, you read a little bit more, but it's as long as you enjoy what you're doing. Again, if you like what you're doing, then it's all good. But it's very busy. Yeah, and I certainly my sporting things suffer.
Right.
So I don't play as well as Susie does for sure.
But I don't know, as someone, two people in our family working, I have to admit, there's a lot of guilt when you're having to sacrifice something, your family or what have you, have to make a choice. I'm just curious, Megan, you're nodding your head?
Yeah, well, I have a lower paying job than, in the mainstream, and so one of the benefits was that we all had health benefits for all the family members, but then they cut those. So I said to my husband, who was working for himself, you got to get a good paying job with benefits. We got to balance this out, and he found it fantastic. The job of his dreams working with Native kids in Auburn, which is 2.5 hours away from where we live, and it has benefits for everybody, and it's a good paying job, and it's his dream job with some fantastic kids, but it's 2.5 hours away, and I didn't want to uproot our kids, we're a great country public high school, and the kids are really happy, so, you know, that was kind of a challenge. It's been a challenge and a shift to juggle, and I work in Marin, but we can't afford to live there, so our house is in the Russian River. I work in Marin, and Jack works in Auburn, and so we're balancing a lot so that the kids can get what they need, and we can juggle, and it's a sacrifice. But I don't feel like that cold question. I feel like, you know, time goes so fast, and the kids, they're older now, and I feel like it's all there in the future, and we have so many blessings. Honestly, I feel like that compared to so many folks. The bigger want is the stability of the country and where we're going and what's going to be there for children and grandchildren, I think. So I feel like it's a juggle, but I've learned a hell of a lot. And I think the kids today really are resilient, like you said, by survival, you know, from what they go through.
Alexander, what is your biggest personal and professional challenge?
I think they're related. I'm being haunted by all the comments about time rushing by with such cruel swiftness. And just all the cliche, I'm just going to spout cliches, but I know we all think and feel it. And I think just like the older we get, the faster it seems to go. And then you just start saying, all right, this many years and how many left? And then like, we're more than halfway yet. I hope not yet. And then what Charlene said about maintaining her inner peace to remain rooted and have good judgment, I'd like to achieve that inner peace first and then try to maintain it. You know, you're younger and you can do this and this and this, and then you kind of grow older and things, you know,
Fall apart.
I don't know if I have wanted, it's like how you then spend, you know, time. What is time? It's your life. And you're just down here for about 10 minutes. And in me recently, it's been a kind of a constant interplay between being super present at moments and not present at all. Like I could be with you and look and say, look at this lovely person next to me and how beautiful she is and speaks and how unique and precious this moment is, and like really see you. And at the same time, I can say, this is all going by so fast, and look, we're all going to be dead really soon.
Let's just end on that note. You'll meet for a 50th.
So that dovetails, of course, into your question, professional and personal concern. How do I wish to spend personal my life with whom? All of life is, other than your family, is casting. Hopefully, with your friends, and then if you're lucky enough to choose whom you work with, it's all casting. You want to cast your life well. And if you can choose that, then you're very lucky. And if you can, you really have to do it because you can't. And then professionally, just hope to do good and honest work and achieve some level of proficiency. Again, I'm saying things that I think a lot of us feel, and do like one good thing at least before taking off.
Joe, what about back to the question I asked earlier about? Do you feel you're at the top of the hill, or do you feel like you've got a lot more to go?
No, I think I'm just at the bottom of that hill. That's interesting you put life as casting. And it's like now we can make the choices that you can have the people around you that you want to be around you, because that's what it's all about. Whether that be work, family, home, reuniting with friends and stuff. This is what it's all about. Just to keep our focus there. And you know, it's things will change, and I'm excited about it. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, actually.
The game.
The game. that reminded me of like something over at graduation when someone asked, what are they going to do after graduation? He said, well, I'll probably go out to dinner with my parents. But you know, I have a unique perspective because I don't have kids. I'm single, and I can just go out and grab gusto. And my friends are my family, and that's who I treasure. And it's so great to be reunited here with each and every one of you. I think we're losing the kids.
Steve, what's the best? I actually got this from the 10th reunion question. What was the best mistake you ever made?
Oh, God. Well, when did we go to law school? Best mistake I ever made. I guess it would have to be. No, that's not it.
He's going through a lot. Was it that?
File.
Was it that?
I don't know so much mistakes, but just sort of, and a lot of people here would say, doing things that I didn't intend to do that turned out to be the big thing. I mean, walking into a reading and seeing Charles Baxter and learning, oh, so this is a way one can have a writing life. You know, it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't something I had planned. And sort of opened up a way of thinking about doing something that had always been there that I just discovered. If that makes any sense.
Where do you see yourselves going? I mean, one of the things I've found where I'm in my career is, there's sort of that, can you make a mid-career change? Can you make a radical change in your life at this point? Or do you kind of have to go with the way that the snowball's been going downhill and that's sort of facing that? I'm just, if any of you are thinking about that in any way, a sort of a big change either in terms of career or a change of adjusting your life between work and family. Bill?
Well, any big change in career is more likely to be presented to me as a vote. We don't think you're very good at this. The office I'm in is the first one that I ever ran for. So this was a pretty big switch. I mean, I decided to run for office at 45. So that's a pretty radical switch. And all of these positions, we don't own them, we just rent them or lease them. And
Some of them too long.
Yeah, no, that's true. But there's a great remedy for that. I think you just got to maximize the moment that you're in and do as much as you can do, either in the position you're in or with the opportunities that are presented. And the one thing I will say about at least political life is if you are doing all the calculations for what's 3 or 4 steps down the road, then you're probably not taking advantage of and maximizing the position that you're in at the time. And I think it's a pretty fair statement that most American voters are tired of that behavior and would rather that you go all out, even if it means you're not around in a few years, because there's plenty of good people out there to step up. We got a pretty robust political system, and as long as we keep replenishing it with good folks, we'll do all right.
Well, I've had opportunities where I kind of went off in a different direction. I always come back to my psychology work. I did grant writing at one time, and it came about so oddly. When I came to Southern California, I was offered a position to work in a homeless shelter. And coming from New York City, I thought, homeless shelter. I can't do that. It's, you think of this gymnasium, and I thought, I don't know if I'm ready to do something like that with people with cots, and can I give what the type of service that's needed? But I found out people were in a reconverted motel with kitchenettes. I mean, it was a real plush type of thing, and they saw some potential in me, and they wanted to send me off to Grant Regular School, and I did PR work, and I found that I was speaking before supervisorial district hearings, and I don't know, I just got into this whirlwind of, here, you can do this, and you can do that, and I did. I started writing grants, and I got away from being with people and with children, and I received a lot of monies, and we obtained buildings, and we graduated people from a 60-day stay to a 6-month stay, and but I kind of got away from dealing with people, and I didn't like doing it. So I came back to doing my work. I think in the past 2 years, I was offered a position in working as a financial planner, and it was because you're so good with people, and you can talk to people, and I did that, but it just wasn't, I wasn't really passionate about it. So I found that I expect that those things will continue to happen in the next 10 or 20 years, because I'm going to live my life to the fullest. So I will do some of these things and experience them, but I'm going to always come right back to my psychology, social work field, because I believe that it's what I'm here to do.
Thank you. You were shaking up.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going to turn to the audience after this to some questions, so take some questions.
We know a lot more about the brain, and I'm fascinated about infant attachment, because how a baby is responded to or not, and how a child throughout, and a teenager throughout their life, needs are either met or not met. That really affects the mental blueprint, if you will, and I believe it affects all of our relationships. That's one surprise that hit me. I could understand it with kids here, but in my own marriage, in my own relationships, how we're parented and the little unconscious scripts we bring with us affects all of our relationships. And there's a lot, I think, that I feel we need to teach our kids and be better grandparents to understand how those early years as a society, too, getting an understanding of how that is so huge, and how we're not really, we could, I think, do better, and how we address policies about daycare, and a lot of the research about how we are becoming so far spread because of our technology, and how we used to be as cultures. We took care of our own more, and I'm just fascinated by all the brain research with that to support those. So I'm interested, I think, in talking to future kids and our own kids and my peers about how we do better so that our kids, I don't even think we tell our kids, we end with the Cinderella story, marriage, and we don't say, and then after 7 years, it changes and it goes into this, and you really have to work on it more, and I'm interested in those true relations. I want to talk to our kids about these things,
No comment.
Because I think that there's a lot of things that we don't, and there's a lot of research, it's not common knowledge, common practice, and I think our kids are so bright and they have all these things, but how can we learn from this body of knowledge? I'm kind of interested in more going to more of a teaching level.
I'm just looking for a really good age-defying cream.
I have asked Joe, since you were one of our senior class presidents, Joe, what about political ambitions to you?
Oh,
Did everybody hear that?
mine was every day I live is yet another reason why I can't run for office. Dated William Ayers, apparently.
Now, Joe, this won't work out in Arkansas, but in Louisiana, move on down, do anything you want.
I've been there.
Semi-serious question for Bill. You see any hope for civil political discourse in
involves more the voters than it does the people running. I think the only hope is an outright rejection of negative campaigning by voters. So that if in every race that I've ever seen, in every race that I've even been anywhere close to, there was always a point where there was a decision made by one or both candidates whether they were going to take a more positive path about ideas and about a direction for the country or for their state or whatever office it was, or whether they were going to take the path of tearing down their opponent. And it's the voters that determine whether or not that's all, which path is ultimately going to be taken, because there's a lot of pressure on the candidates ultimately to win. I mean, what they want to do is to get into office and do the things they're campaigning on, but to do that, they have to win. And so there's this, you got advisors, campaign advisors who are saying, this guy's going negative on you and you've got to retaliate, you've got to do that, otherwise you're going to lose this election. And when voters reject that, and it's obvious that negative campaigning is being rejected, that's when it'll stop. I actually had conversations with the candidates I ran against for this post, and I said, look, I want to run a very upbeat, positive campaign, a campaign on ideas, but I want you to know, if you go negative on me, I'm going to unload. I'm going to let you have it. And, in a couple of cases they listened, and in a couple of cases they didn't. And I'll talk with you afterwards, because this is not something for the whole group, but, some of the things that were being said or alleged about me, about my wife, and so forth. I mean, you just couldn't have those out there and not be combative. Not just because it was an unfair position for this particular campaign, but my belief is that if negative campaigning wins races, then it is more likely in future races, and so you get into this downward spiral. And I think that that's part of what's going on in the country right now. I mean, this has been a trend now for quite a while, and the first thing that you do when you get ready to run is you do opposition research on your opponents, and the second thing you do is you do opposition research on yourself, so that you know what's likely to be coming at you. And I'd rather that was the 10th or 15th or 20th thing that a campaign and a candidate think about. And the first thing being, what do you want to do in the office, and what's your vision for the future?
Well, sadly, that negative campaigning has proved effective in the last few elections, and we're seeing it rear its ugly head again, and that's because of desperation, fueled by, I think, the world we live in now with the 24-hour news cycles. When you watch MSNBC and Fox News, they have to fill 24 hours of news, and even the negative campaigns messages get the most play. They're effective.
Sure.
And so that will always be a part, I think, of politics, but it's up, as you say, it's up to us individually to take a stand and do something about it. And that's sort of when we're looking about going forward. I never was really, involved politically or did anything altruistic until this campaign, when I realized you guys with kids out there, there's never been a more important election coming up that has financial and climate concerns and educational concerns. You have to do something about it, and sitting back will just not do. I'm done a lot of work for the No on 8 proposition, which is I'll just go out and say it, vote Obama, and then go down to the Proposition 8 and vote no. It's about time hate is not rewarded in this campaign. And there's just all this crazy stuff in California. How many of you live in California?
Joe, for those of us out of state, what is
Proposition 8 is on the ballot to ban gay marriage. So a yes for that will ban gay marriage because it was approved. They got enough votes to put it on the ballot, and we're actually behind in that cause right now. And so we are doubling up the efforts to for money to get the word out. I was on the phone bank the other day. It's just surprising people's point of view, you know, and you have to respect those who don't agree with it. But those undecideds out there, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Go, just get information. Just get information and make your own judgment. But I beg you to bone up on it and then do the right thing. Again, there I said it.